Welcome everybody. This is Bart Sharp and this is the class Resolving Your Greatest Fears, or maybe fear, one of the two. Uh, I think fear is an interesting topic because it's been around, and I was just reflecting about this right before the class. And fear is a primary product that goes back to caveman times, where we have our fear recorded in us most profoundly is in our primal brain, right back here in the back. Now, the brain, how it's evolved through, the centuries or eons or whatever, it's not really thrown away anything. In other words, we still had the same hardwiring as the caveman. And we have developed three other major sections of our brain besides this primal caveman brain. In the latest development, and I'm talking about thousands and thousands of years of development, is the frontal lobe brain. Now, the frontal lobe brain is about higher functioning. And if you are a child and you are in a happy home and you are feeling safe and secure in yourself, your frontal lobe develops more dynamically. And the reason being is that you are more in your parasympathetic nervous system consciousness. That's what children are naturally in. They feel safe, they feel secure, they're connected to something much greater than the adult are. It's this relaxed state, it's love, it's caring. And children innately do this. But when we're told no and maybe spanked or ridiculed or watch scary shows, probably wild video games where everybody's beating each other up. What happens when those experiences happen is we drop into sympathetic nervous system and we stay in the sympathetic for 30 minutes before we can go back to our parasympathetic consciousness. And during that time in sympathetic, our primal brain develops and our frontal brain turns off. And so this is crucial. So if you want to really get into a higher state of being while taking out your negative mind chatter, developing your parasympathetic through meditation is really important, but also B, doing energetic clearings on your negative mind. That's what I call it, or your primal brain. And we're going to be doing some of those today. So I just wanted to bring that concept up. And I really think that the fear-based concept that we have to drive ourselves out of fear, that it's kind of like a motivating factor. It pushes us, drives us, but it's also used in a very defensive way. We're scared. So we push forward, we become aggressive, we try to do better, we try to please people, but it's not in an authentic way. A lot of times we're just fearful that we're not going to get approval or we're going to get hurt or something like that. So that's all on the masculine side. And we have been in the masculine era astrologically for the last 2,000 years. And, so this is about the time of Christ that this shifted into the masculine mindset. And of course, who was the big influence in the Western Empire at that time was the Romans, and then the Roman Catholic Church. So we have a lot of this, we're going to conquer, we're going to take over, we're going to dominate. And, it just invokes all kinds of fears, and people have manipulated from fears a long, long time. And so now we're getting out of that era. We're getting to a place that we are in an era of balance. Some people say, well, you're returning to the feminine, but that's not exactly true. It's more like a balance of masculine and feminine, according to an astrologer that I know. And I find that to be a more interesting perspective than we're going back to the feminine era. So that's kind of the preamp there. So we're going to start taking out some of this masculine stuff that has been formulated into our greatest fears. And so everything that's in the collective consciousness of societies being destroyed, people losing families, people dying of disease, people dying in poverty, destitute, people being utterly alone and lonely, and having destitute of relationships. All of what that collective consciousness is, that we're all connected to, can we bring that up today? All of what you've been repressing about that through the collective consciousness. And I just want to say before I dwell in this a little bit more, we really want to bring these fears up, because if we can bring them up, we can clear them more profoundly. So everything that you've been told by your family, society, for hundreds and hundreds of years to repress this, to hold it down, and most importantly, create distance from it. We always want to run away from our fears. We always want to conquer them, which is in a form a separation. Everything that we've made secret about that, and you just kind of say this to yourself, would you allow your secrets to be revealed and come up for you? Everything that is, right, wrong, good, bad, pot, pod, all 9 shorts, boys and beyond. And everything that you have experienced throughout lifetimes, in this lifetime, that dying with your worst fear and not resolving it is the worst thing. And this is one of the worst fears for a lot of people. Everything that is, will you please destroy and uncreate that totally and utterly? Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, all 9 shorts, boys and beyonds. So just thinking about, everybody has their own version of worst fears. There's some, collective things that we all kind of experience. And if there's something that you want to bring up, just say, this is a concern I see for myself, or I see this as what's happening in the world. That'd be great. If not, I'm just going to start bringing up stuff and basically trying to trigger you. Trying to get those fears up so we can get them up and you can have a much more comfortable relationship with them. Now, ultimately, if you really want to come to full relationship with your fear, you have to really see what it is at the first step, to really see what that deepest one is. And that's why it's important to ask your body and entrust your gut. Trust your gut with whatever comes up. You ask, and if information comes up and it feels like it's coming more from your gut in that area, like it's coming up literally, that's probably your intuition. And that's something good to trust. So you want to stay in that question. Well, what is really scary for me? Boy, some stuff comes up. Now, that's one step, is to ask that question. Another question is clearing all the fears that it's related to, and just kind of dissolving it a bit, whittling it down, so to speak. And then the next step is being willing to receive that fear in your life. Something about being willing to receive that about you, or being willing to receive the fear that you feel very separate from, but you're scared of. What happens is you no longer have resistance to it. And all this energy you are using to push that away goes away. And what do you get to do with that energy instead of using it to push things away? You get to use that to create your own life. It's kind of like a magical manifester that is innate power inside of you that just goes to where your conscious wants it to go to. So if you're really fascinated with baking cookies and selling them on the street per se, that's pretty a crazy example, particularly in this weather. You'd probably manifest a lot more cookie sales because your energy's just there. It's just going to happen. Okay, so those are kind of the 3 steps: identification, clearing in some way, and then invitation for it to be in your life. And sometimes those fears can be really big. I had a big fear that the world was, I realized that my fear a few years ago was about that the world was going to be destroyed, that we weren't going to make it.
Oh, no.
And that doesn't have any, and what you have to realize that doesn't have any, it doesn't have a lot of reality and truth. Fears don't always have a reality and truth. And mine really wasn't. However, it was still there. And when I was able to go, okay, I'm willing for this world to end. And I come up with the rationale, well, I'm a spirit being. All of us will progress into something else. And somehow I had a solace with that, and grace. And all of a sudden, all that energy that was uncomfortably setting inside of me went away. It was a great relief. All right. So what is the worst fear that's going to happen to you?
The worst fear that's going to happen to me?
Yeah.
I'm stuck in Columbus.
You got to speak up. What's the worst fear? Was that Cynthia?
Yes, I thought I was muted.
The crazy ways we volunteer.
The worst fear is that I'm stuck in Columbus, Texas.
Okay. So that's a feeling of stuckness, maybe that you're not going to move forward. The feeling I get is like contracting. Contracting and dying like that. Or just not even dying, just kind of going into oblivion. In other words, an unknown place that's, that you lose yourself. And what do you lose? Creativity, love, community, relationship with others, maybe those things. And as I say these things, think about your own story. And, we can work on Cynthia's, and you can separately work on yours, or you can go, I want to join in on this. I've had something like that. So think about these things of, I'm going to be alone. I'm going to contract, and I'm not going to fulfill my biggest dreams. I still got so much ahead of me. And it doesn't matter how old you are. That's very true at any age. Uh, so everything that you've made secret, hidden, invisible, covert, unseen, unsaid, undisclosed, unacknowledged about that, will you allow your secrets to be revealed? Would you allow the energy to come up that's been held back so you can have more clarity on how this feels? Right, wrong, good, bad, pod, all 9 shorts, boys, and beyonds. So the first thing that comes up in this little equation is how much did your mom had the same fear or something similar? And how much did you resist? Like, I'm going to make it different. You know, she's the one who's contracted and never going anywhere. And I'm going to be better than that. So that's a judgment. That's a polarity because you're going into opposite ways of your mom. So all the force and energy you're using to create that opposition, I call it a double bonding system. 2 energies going in opposite directions where you pocket pod the ends, pocket pod the middle ground, and destroy and uncreate that polarity totally and utterly. Right, wrong, good, bad, pod, all 9 shorts, boys, and beyonds. And what does it feel like of the fear that I'm going to be just like them? You know, with my family, they were really boring. They were farmers. They did the same thing. We had the same routine. You know, we just, every day. And so I have a big fear of boredom, and that was my polarity with my parents. I did not want that boring life. And to me, it's just a choice. It's no longer a fear. But just think about what that feels like to be that desire. I don't want to be like them. I'm afraid that I am not getting where I want to get to. It could be just the way they interact. Maybe they're really super controlling and you go, I don't want to do that. Okay, whatever that energy is, everything that you've made secret, hidden, invisible, covert, unseen, unsaid, undisclosed, unacknowledged about this, will you allow these secrets to be revealed? Right, wrong, good, bad, pot on 9 shorts, boys, and beyonds. Now that clearing you're going to hear a lot in this hour because that's the whole thing about fears. What makes them a powerful resisting force in us, in other words, something that really limits us, is how we've made them so secret. And so we really want to get to the essence of what they are, and if we can, what they feel like. And maybe you just get this image of yourself in a situation way back when, and it's like you in this really funky situation. You go, I don't ever want to be there anymore. That's good enough. That's great. Whatever it is, that comes up for you, that gives you information, that's what you trust. Okay, so get what you trust. Get what you feel. And boy, I feel it a lot in the bottom of my gut, but also I feel it a lot on my left side in my spleen. And the spleen is always about sadness and anger. And often our sadness that we repress as children gets stuck in our spleen. So how much of sadness is in your life that you feel like you're stuck? You're stuck in this family that doesn't understand you, or you're stuck in your own body and you don't understand you. uh, and you're trying to break out of that. So there's sadness. The sadness is like a more basic emotion, and fear is the reactionary emotion. It's like, I don't want to be in this sad place. I'm going to get scared and fearful, so I'll have some energy and motivation to get me the hell out of here. That's often how it works. So, what is that sadness of being so alone, contracted? And the word that comes up, and if I say these words and you feel a charge from it, a reaction inside of you, that means it reads on you. You pay attention to it. So, how many of you feel destitute? In other words, there's an emptiness there that doesn't feel like you're going to get out of it. And whatever this fear, this sadness is. So, we'd like to connect to that and everything. So, secret, hidden, invisible, covert, unseen, unsaid, undisclosed, unacknowledged about this sadness, fear, destitute, contraction, isolation. Another one, not being understood and feeling alone because you're just the weirdo of the family. All of what that feeling is. All the force and energy you hold that type of sadness in place in your body, will you please destroy and uncreate that totally and utterly? Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, all nine shorts, boys, and beyonds. And everything that you felt like you have to conquer sadness with fear. In other words, I'm going to be opposite of this. I'm going to get moving. But sadly, it's not a comfortable feeling. You know, it doesn't feel good. This isn't done out of curiosity or imagination or excitement. It's done out of like, this is shitty and I got to get the hell out of here. That type of stuff. So all of what that is, all of that polarity between fear and sadness, all the double binds and double binding systems holding that in place, where you pock and pod the ends, pock and pod the middle ground, and destroy and uncreate that totally and utterly. Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, pod, all nine shorts, boys. Now, if we take a basic pattern like this, and this, you know, for what Cynthia brought up, I'm running with it like I usually do. And it's no mistake that you brought this up, Cynthia, because it's probably just perfect for everybody. It starts to become how we react to a lot of the fears in life. In other words, a lot of the bigger fears, like, you know, the planet's going to die. You know, that's always my biggest one. And so, you know, what your reaction to that might be if you have these issues that Cynthia brought up, is you start to feel a feeling of destitution, a sadness, isolation, loneliness. You start to feel like we can't do anything because we're all just individuals. We're so small. There's not the courage or the hope that, wow, we can really get together and do something. We can do as a collective consciousness and do something. Or the little bit that I can do that nobody seems to notice, but I notice, really does make a difference. That's probably the biggest flaw with world change. People really feel like they're not making a difference. And in actuality, the little things they do make a difference. So that feeling, boy, the word that keeps coming up is destitute. The feeling that that everything's gone, you know, that you don't have anything. But, you know, destitute can also be a destitute of friends, destitute of love. You know, it doesn't have to be so much about money or a home or food. Can be a lot of things. So what is your fear that you're going to be destitute of? Is it love? Is it relationship? Is it being in isolation? Another one that seems to show up, I'm just going to say it, poverty of soul. In other words, you feel empty. You feel like you've not done what you could potentially do. You missed the boat. You wasted too much time playing video games or something. And you missed that chance to really evolve. And that's a huge judgment to put on yourself. What does that feel like to have that feeling that you've missed it and that you are missing it? Everything that you've made secret, hidden, invisible, covert, unseen, unsaid, undisclosed, unacknowledged about that, we allow these secrets to be revealed. Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, all nine shorts, boys, and beyonds. You know, this is a kind of a problem with society, and particularly our society. Everybody wants to do normal instead of listening to themselves. And particularly, you know, those of us over 35 or 40, you know, the genetics and the everything changes for those under 35. It's a different ball game. It's slightly different, but there's always this feeling that with the normal family, and those of us who are not normal, which if you tuned in today, that qualifies you as not normal. We look at our family and go, is this all there is? You know, we could be doing something so much better than this. You know, why are we doing this normal stuff? It just doesn't fit me. So everything that there's a feeling of that destitution, that you're not supported in your family, and that creates this feeling of aloneness. Okay, that's kind of big. Everything you made, secret, hidden, invisible, covert, unseen, unsaid, undisclosed, unacknowledged about that. Will you allow those secrets to be revealed? And can you allow yourself to feel that uncomfortable feeling? Totally and utterly. Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, all nine shorts, boys, and beyonds. Okay, you know, this goes even lower than the spleen, like going down into your gut. So this is a deeper place. In general, what I find with the left side, that would be your feminine side, but also it's kind of who we are as children. In other words, we're more feminine as children. We're more caring, we're more nurturing, we're more in this creative flow. We have this more spontaneous perspective. We're more magical. And this is all feminine characteristics. This is all about feminine development. And the masculine is kind of the opposite of that. And we really need both of them together. But, you know, a deeper wound is usually held in the feminine. So get that feeling of you as that little child that feels that separation, that nobody really gets you. Everything so secret, hidden, invisible, covert, unseen, unsaid, undisclosed, unacknowledged about that. Will you allow these secrets to be revealed? Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, all nine shorts, boys, and beyonds. So I'm going to ask this question. For the group in general, is this limitation more about sadness? Doesn't read. Shame. Okay. That one reads fear. That one doesn't read. So how many considerations here are that it's our fault? It's our wrong. And how long have we held that when we get into that scared place, a lot of times we feel like it's our fault. You know, and that's what this pattern applies to. It grows to. It applies to a lot of different things in our lives. And so, you know, the courage to use your fear to say, well, we're not going to take this anymore. Or I'm going to change my life. I don't have to do what my parents did. I can be totally different. There might be one side in you that says, nope, I just don't have it inside of me to have that type of courage. Somebody else has, but not me. All that just doesn't want to have a get up and go. Doesn't, and has lost the adventure, has lost the motivation and the excitement of your life. All the ways, means, methods, modalities, form, structure, significances. In other words, all the ways that this shame has been applied to that point of view, held in your body, held in your life, stopped you on your tracks, has made you complacent, created procrastination, and thrown in that big judgment like, well, what if I'm not good enough? What if I fail? Well, that's too painful. I don't think I can handle that. So I'm not going to try it all. Okay, so everything that is that's wrapped in that shame that away, and all the protocols, factors, and focal points, and positive ions, free radicals that hold all of those hundreds to millions of limitations in your body. Will you please revoke, recant, rescind, reclaim, renounce, denounce, destroy, and uncreate that totally and utterly? Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, all nine shorts, boys, and beyonds. And how much is that connected to your family members, other people in your community, other people around the planet that when you're challenged, when your big opportunity is there, when times get tough, there's a part of you that freezes up or wants to freeze up, and it's wrapped in shame. Okay, everything's so shuku about that, or secret, hidden, invisible, covert, unseen, unsaid, undisclosed, unacknowledged. We allow these secrets to be revealed. Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, all nine, shorts, boys, and beyonds. Can you allow yourself to have that fear? And what's the worst thing that's going to happen? Are you just going to feel like, well, I'm just going to die with this fear, or I'm going to become complacent, I'll be like my parents? Whatever that is, and just think about what your story is, you know, and you might just go through a list of things. Oh, I'm afraid I'm going to be unaccomplished. Afraid I'm going to be lost all my life, or I'm just going to die lonely, or, you know, or we're all going to fail together, and, you know, everything's going to implode on the planet. Whatever that fear is, get it. See what it is for you. And now I'm going to ask you a really important question. Are you willing to receive this fear? And you have to say yes or no to yourself. You can say it out loud like we're in a church meeting. That'll work too. But something like that. Make a proclamation. I recommend you say, yes, I like to receive this fear. I see it exactly what it is. I'm going to receive it. So everything that is, right, wrong, good, bad, pot, all 9 shorts, boys, and beyonds. Basically, you're saying, I'm no longer going to resist this. I'm no longer going to react to it. And I'm no longer going to align with all the stories I heard that this fear is justified and right for me. You're just saying, okay, I'm done with that. So all of that resistance and reaction and alignment and agreement is basically creating a lot of energy to defend yourself. And you're defending yourself against something that is not there, that's invisible, has been fabricated by your mind, has some aspect of reality to it, but you know, it can always change. It's not totally true. So think about what that theme is for you. Maybe it's the fear of destitution, that you're going to contract or not be anywhere, or that somebody's going to degrade you horribly. You know, right now, the fear of degradation is really big. And it's really funny, like, well, what's in the news right now? Child molestation. People protesting about police, about equal rights with blacks. You know, these are all of these people bringing up their fears of degradation. And so that's a big one. And I'm so glad that they're all coming up, because this is how consciousness works. We raise the vibration in ourselves. The collective consciousness raises. And that's what we've seen in the last 6 months. Nice big jump in collective consciousness. And then the collective consciousness of the people start to gravitate to different issues in a different way. And so, you know, it doesn't matter who's promoting equal rights with blacks and equal rights, that all people should be treated fairly by the law, and that we will no longer accept any type of the fact that it's coming up, it's evolving, it's changing. So let's address that. Since it come up, everything that gets triggered in fear. Now, what happens with something like this? It goes back to your story. And it was just like a friend of mine was saying, you know, I was saying, I'm really happy about, you know, that it really feels like there's a possibility for the United States to go very green and have a new Green Deal finally. And she's going, well, that's great, but I would really like this pedophilia to go, because I was raped, or I had rape around me as a child. She wasn't raped, but her sister was, and she grew up with that. And so it was a big fear. And what I got from that is like, maybe my actual fear can be resolved through the government confronting this. And yes, it would be a great victory for her as an individual, but at the same time, it's her own individual journey to deal with, you know, all the issues of her family. So, you know, that's a microscopic and a macroscopic point of view all happening at the same time. And it's a lot how things get healed. So thinking about being those victims, whether it be pedophilia, being abused by authorities. The authorities could be police, but it could be other people that are authorities, and being unfairly abused. That would be degraded. That's what degrading means. In other words, somebody's giving you pain and they're doing it with the intent of wanting you to feel pain. You know, they want you to hurt in some way, shape, or form. And pedophilia, I think, has those components. It's a form of abuse. So what does it feel like to be in fear of all of that? Everything that you've made secret, hidden, invisible, covert, unseen, unsaid, undisclosed, unacknowledged about that. Will you allow these secrets to be revealed? Right, wrong, good, bad, pod, all nine. Shorts, boys, and beyonds. So when I do that secret, hidden, invisible, I'm tuning into everybody here, and I get kind of a general read, you know, not so much on an individual themselves. And so where the energy goes is down to the perineum, and that would be between your anus and your, and it's receiving the flow of life. So how much is that fear of degradation, that sadness that it's happening, that shame that it's our wrongness, block that out? It's created a state of no joy. I feel nothing at that level of something so deep and profound in me. I can't really receive life. And it kind of goes back to Cynthia, what she brought up. It's like if your parents are kind of stuck and you feel alone and isolated, and you feel like you're never going to get out of this town, it has some similarities to that, but not totally exactly like that. So get that feeling of what is it like to be degraded? What's that feeling? Everything secret, hidden, invisible, covert, unseen, unsaid, undisclosed, unacknowledged about that. Will you allow these secrets to be real? Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, all nine shorts, boys, and beyond. And what does the feeling feel like that when I get to this level of fear or feeling that I'm going to be degraded and the fear shows up, the sadness may show up or the shame may show up, everything doesn't flow. Life quits moving. All the fears that that's going to happen again, I'm going to go back to that place. I'm going to go back to that degraded place. All the decisions, judgments, compilations, and conclusions you've made that's horrible, bad, terrible, the worst, the pits, the bottom of the barrel, whatever. Would you be willing to revoke, recant, rescind, reclaim, renounce, denounce, destroy, and quit that totally and utterly? Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, on any shorts, boys, and beyonds. That happened to me at 12 and 13 when I went to junior high. You know, I went to a very safe and secure elementary school. I was popular to some degree. And then I went to junior high and everything changed. It was really tough. And that's the tough place I go to. It's like that's what shut down feels for me, is being in that place. And I never like working on it. I can't imagine why. But it's an essential part to accept and to understand what it really had to offer to me. And for me, it was about having a bottom. Like, this is as worse as it gets. And everything that you have felt like this is worse as it gets, Everything so secret, hidden, invisible, covert, unseen, unsaid, undisclosed, unacknowledged about that. Will you please allow these secrets to be revealed? Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And all the pain that you suffered at that point, all the pain that was so intense that you left yourself, you left consciousness, or it was so intense. All the ways you've held that in thoughts and recreated it, you know, and lived in that anxiety, and have defined it as that away. How much force and energy do you use to hold that place in place? And how much anxiety and fear do you use with it? Now, the thing that it does is it gets us to move. We have a place that is like rock bottom, low point. And a lot of people use that to spring out into something else. But you can do that for year in and year out, and it really gets kind of tiring and boring. And sometimes we just go, I ain't got it anymore. I just don't want to spring out. So let's come to terms with it. Let's give this place a quiet, comfortable place to be, because it's never going to totally go away. But when you had that type of anxiety about being degraded and fear of that, and it shows up, instead of being afraid of it, you can look at it and go, oh, it's you. Yeah, I hear you. Thanks so much for sharing. Peace be with you. And that's it. You give it no energy, no polarity. You're not scared of it at all, but it's still there. It's part of your shadow. So get what that fear is in you. Feel it. Identify it. See what you look like at that time that you felt it for the first time. And the times that you recreated it and relived it. Sometimes it's good to just visualize what you look like at that time, in your 13-year-old clothes, and for me, a really bad haircut, and all of these things. See that place, and everything that you are in fear of ever going back there again. Will you be willing to destroy and uncreate it all, totally and utterly? Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. So see that little person that's held inside of you, and all that fear and all of that, like, I can't ever go back there again. I just hate it. Would you be willing to receive that in your life now? And just say, well, it's going to be there all of my life. So I want to receive you, and I want to embrace you. I want to take you and bring you into my heart. And you can have a nice, comfortable place to live instead of being stuck down in my perineum where you're all, knotted up and fearful. So would you be willing for this place to be received and go into your heart? And just feel that part of you, that image of you, that visualization of you, however you want to do it, just going into your heart. And it's going into all of this light in your heart, all of this love. And all of that love is going into that being that's you. And it's getting exactly what it needs. Love, energy, acknowledgement. And would you just, what if there's anything that you could tell this part of you that would Be an acknowledgement that you appreciate this person, because they held a huge weight. For me, going through this stuff at 12 and 13 was really difficult, and it taught me major lessons down the road. So it was a great gift. You can always turn it around into something. So allow that to go into your heart and be. There's nothing too shameful, too disgusting about you that cannot be transformed. In fact, every part about you that is your shadow, that you are afraid of, really wants to be transformed. It doesn't want to be holding this, and it doesn't want your body to be feeding so much energy into a repressed negative memory. And yes, like I said, this is not totally resolved. It'll come back. But what I suggest to you is this. When that energy comes back, acknowledge it, thank it, and just recognize that it's most likely a tape recording. It's not really you. It's just an old recorded memory that pops up. And I really do this. My negativity, I've worked on negativity. I had a lot of negativity as a child, young adult. And this stuff really works because I don't have hardly any of that anymore. But, you know, there comes to this point where the recordings will go away. And so when you just acknowledge that it's recording and say, thank you very much, you know, is there something else for me to learn from this? Generally, if you resolved it, it will go away. If it keeps coming back 4 or 5 times within an hour, it probably means that there's a real issue that needs to be resolved. That's a good way to discriminate between the two. But if you look at it and you say, well, who does this belong to? Or is this really mine now? Is this really a part of me? Just asking those questions will often make it just go away. That's because it's recorded. So, you know, that's a good way to discriminate whether something's old and it's on its way out. Now, if you keep freaking out about it and reacting to it and go, oh, no, there it is again. You're going to recreate it. You're doing it right in that moment. So give yourself permission to be free of it. And then go, well, how can I make myself different? How can I grow into somebody else? What do I need to do? You know, what would I like to become? I always put it in a question. It's not like I'm running away from it. I'm just creating something new. I'm happy for it to come up if there's something it can teach me. And, you know, sometimes it does. So, thank you for coming, everybody. And I hope this was helpful for everybody. And I'll probably be doing more classes as long as I'm here in Austin. And we're still having these shutdowns. Why not? So thank you, everybody, for coming today. And I'll see you soon.
Thanks, Bart.
Thank you, Bart.
Thank you very much.
I just wanted to say I really appreciated the